Let's get everybody involved and keep them involved. It just builds, well-being.
You're easy to talk to, so good podcast material, PJ.
He's married, Travis.
I'm sorry. Doesn't mean we can't date.
Oh, man, this went off the rails fast just by one joke.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It's time for more Law Lite, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, fwhlegal.com. And today is kind of a special day for us, PJ. We are located at the Old Trinity Church in Owensboro, Kentucky. We are not at the office recording this podcast. We are sitting at a table right in the middle of Theatre Workshop, like I said, located at the Old Trinity Church, which was erected in 1875. Lots of history with this building, and we've actually spent the last 20 or 30 minutes swapping some great stories and accounts of some interesting activity here at this building. And the reason we're here, PJ, is because you have arranged a guest for us today. It's Todd Reynolds, who is the Executive Director, acting Executive Director at Theatre Workshop. Todd, thank you for joining us for a little podcasting today.
Well, I'm honored to be asked to sit in with you guys.
Well, I am glad we did this, because the last 30 minutes are probably going to be the most interesting minutes of my day, even though I have a lot on my calendar. So thank you for sharing some of your accounts, and I call them accounts, not stories, some of your accounts of happenings here at the Old Trinity Church.
For those who may not know, this building is notoriously haunted.
Right, and I did not know that until I took the one of the ghost tours that's offered here in Owensboro, and some of the stories that were told. But we're here today to get to know a little bit. Foreman Watson Holtry has, because of the diversity of our team over there, we have a lot of people that are involved in a lot of different things. We have people that are involved with Owensboro's dance theater, and we have people that are involved in sports teams, and it's a lot of donation, a lot of volunteer hours. But we wanted to kind of highlight Theatre Workshop of Owensboro. PJ had indicated to me when we were discussing some potential guests for the podcast, Todd, that you and he have had a friendship, and that because of his interest in both theater and film and things like that maybe you would be a great a guest. And boy, I mean, he asked, and you said, "Here I am." So
sure, always. Anytime PJ asks, here I am.
Well, we have you sent us over a bio, but why don't you tell us? I mean, just tell us a little bit about how you got to where you're at today, because it's an interesting.
Well, first of all, let me tell you, theater's how I met PJ, because the first time I ever saw him, he was on stage at Owensboro High School doing a play called The Nerd, and he was acting in a role that I had previously acted in, Rick Stedman. So he was the guy that I wanted to talk to most after the show and tell him where he messed up. No, I'm kidding.
Well, and that's back when I was rocking the bowl cut.
He was brilliant. He did a great job with that. I was in theater when I was a little kid in grade school, but I got to junior high school and just didn't interest me anymore. And it wasn't until the month I was graduating high school that the girl I was dating at the time literally dragged me to this building to see her sister in a play. And I loved it and wanted to get involved. And I didn't know how, because I certainly was too shy to get up on stage at that point in my life. And so I discovered that there are a lot of different ways to get involved with the theater. It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to put on a play too. So, for a long time, what I did was tech stuff. I helped build sets. I worked lights and sound, and did all those other supporting things that have to happen to make a show work. And finally, I was a student at Brescia, and one of the big names at Theatre Workshop, Ray McIntosh, a little Scottish lady, was the drama teacher, speech and drama at Brescia. And I'd taken some classes from her, and one night I'm just sitting at home, minding my own business, and the phone rings, and it's Ray, and she says, "Todd, we've had somebody drop out the show. Can you come help us?" So I said, "Sure," and took off and didn't have to audition. So, I'm in the show. I didn't have to audition and go through that traumatic experience. Right. And the rest is history. I haven't looked back, been in a lot of shows since then, and eventually became a director. I stepped in 1976 to see that play, and I've never left.
For those that aren't familiar with what the roles of the executive director for Theatre Workshop are, what is it that is you're responsible for, and what you do on a daily basis to be able to have this venue and this opportunity for folks in our region?
Well, one of the things we do, obviously, is we have to raise money to keep the place viable, and ticket sales don't do it alone. So
Right.
we have to shake the bushes for sponsorships and apply for grants and different things to be able to keep going. Especially in this last year, Travis,
Right.
we were in a situation where we couldn't produce any plays. So we had to learn some new tricks, and so we held a bourbon raffle, which was pretty successful. Now we're in the middle of an automobile raffle.
Yeah, I saw that. A 1941.
It is a 1941 Chevrolet Supreme Deluxe. It's a really cool car. I was watching a movie the other day set during the times of World War II, and as the camera pulled back, I'm like, "There's our car right there." It was awesome. So it really does feel like a time machine, just to even stand next to it. It's a cool car.
PJ, have you put your name in that raffle? Because you were complaining the other day about your car, and this may be the cheapest way for you to replace it, and with something that has a lot of character and history.
That's true. I haven't yet, but I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Will that car take me to Hartford if I need to go?
Probably.
Okay, because it's better than the dad van that I have right now, because there's no guarantees I'm going anywhere.
I'll tell you
with
what,
that.
it has a clean bill of health. We had a mechanic look at it. We've had it appraised. It's got a pretty healthy value. And so, yeah, it's a great car. If you win, when you transfer it over, get a historical vehicle license.
Right.
Save a lot of. You may talk to an attorney if you know any attorneys about that kind of thing.
Well,
but,
if I win, I can make a period piece with it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, for any of the weirdos out there who know what's going on, does it come with the ladies that you see in the photographs?
No, I'm sorry, they're not included.
They're props.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this, Todd, and it says that, since you were called by your professor to come over and stand in, it looks like about 45 years have passed from that time, and that you have now acted in over 50 productions. Is that accurate?
That's a conservative estimate, probably, yeah.
But in addition, directed 30 or 40 more?
Absolutely. It took me a while to feel like I was ready for that. What I wanted to do was be able to kind of know my way around a production. And everything's different. This isn't professional theater. This is community theater. And so we need to make sure that everything's fun for folks. And nobody's getting paid. Nobody's earning any college credits or anything. But you also need to know what you can reasonably ask and expect of people. It's good to know a little bit about set design and lighting design and what your volunteers are capable of, what your building is able to support.
Right.
And so, for me, I wanted to have experienced all those jobs so that I would be able to talk to somebody about them with some degree of knowledge and reasonable expectation.
Again, before we came on, had a great conversation, but we have in Theater Workshop these retractable risers, which are places where the audience gets to sit so that they can have true theater seating with the back being higher than the front. But when this place is, quote, filled to capacity for a show, how many does the theater here seat?
Well, this theater will seat right at 100 folks. Now, our other building, we've got another one around the corner,
Right.
the Empress. Folks might know that as the Malco. Folks might know it as Goldie's Opry House. We know it as the Empress Theater because we wanted to take the name back to where it begun. It started out in 1912 as the movie theater called the Empress, and that one seats just over 300.
Right, that's the one that's right on Frederick Street, about 2 blocks down from my office.
Great big old marquee. That's right.
Right. And how long has Theater Workshop had that building?
Golly, I can't remember the exact year that we purchased it from Goldie, but it's been at least 10 years.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So it seats 300, and both theaters are active in
Absolutely. What we normally do is kind of alternate spaces, and we'll do a large show to start the season at the Empress, and then do maybe a smaller, lesser-known show here, and just kind of go back and forth as things allow. Now, with COVID and physical distancing and whatever, we just felt like Trinity might this year be too intimate a space to really utilize well. So we've planned for all of our productions to be at the Empress this year. But as the numbers get better, Travis, we may decide that we are safe to do things here. One of the things that we've done to make both buildings safer is we've upgraded our HVAC systems. I was looking for a stout filter that might improve, the efficiency and killing all the nasty things that get into the air. Because we don't have a system that pulls in air from the outdoors. It's just a circulatory system that reconditions the air that's in the building, already in here.
Right.
So I got to talking to a friend of mine who owns Comfort Design to ask about that, and he said, I think I can do something better than that for you. And it's actually a piece of hardware that we've gotten to attach to our HVAC systems that bombards the air that goes through the intake with positive and negative ions, and actually kills 98% of the germs and bacteria and viruses that come through it. So we feel really good about that. We put 4 units over at the Empress because it's a larger space. We've got 2 here in Trinity, and we just feel good about being a safer place for our volunteers and audiences to be in.
PJ, that's something that, along the lines of things we've discussed on other topics related to COVID, is how it has made us improve things that were one time not even on our radar.
Right.
Like we've been able to attend a lot of court hearings that we used to travel and give up a half a day of time. We've been able to attend those remotely through, the great or video conferencing software that's come, forward, and platforms that's come forward.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of other examples that we've come up with, how we've gotten a little bit more efficient, how we have reanalyzed the way we've done things in the past. And so, I think that's one of the great things about the country that we live in, and is that we can take something like the pandemic and we can learn from it in how we go about things in the future, even when it comes down to conditioning the air in our buildings. Absolutely. So that it's safer. So that's interesting I didn't think this conversation would go that way, but it's so consistent, PJ, with what we've discussed.
Absolutely. What's funny is, and this will show you how different people you and I are, that's where your mind went. My mind was like negative and positive ions. Does that affect the ghosts in the building at all? And Todd, are you accidentally killing the ghosts, not even realizing it?
No, they feed on that. They feed on that energy. Everybody knows that after a thunderstorm, the air is ionized, and that's when things are most active. So,
see, there you go. So you may inadvertently.
It's like
now you don't need a thunderstorm. Yeah,
it's
now
like
now it's going to be supercharged all the time.
I just hope we don't blow the top off the tower.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
don't cross the streams.
It's why the reason our podcast is working is because PJ would hear your story and immediately think of ions and ghosts, and I think of it as the, oh great, this is a great example of how we're getting better because of COVID. So
Absolutely.
It takes 2 vantage points to make things
That's
work.
right. That's
so.
why he's the attorney, and you don't ever want me to defend you in court.
Even be distracted by the ions. Todd, I want to talk for a second, Todd, about the place for theater in the practice of law. And there is no greater theater, in my opinion, than the courtroom. And I've tried close to 50 jury trials in my career, and I learned from some good lawyers that you have to find the story in your case, and then you have to be able to tell it, and it has to reach an epiphany, and it has to, and one of the things I have enjoyed most in learning how to try cases is when I go to seminars, and the people that are leading these seminars are actors and producers and directors in theater, and they teach us a whole different line of communication. And it's the reason that PJ and I even have met is because I have a passion for telling the story of my clients as opposed to just taking them through the system, so to speak, or taking them through from beginning to end of a case. We look at whatever they're going through as a story, and it needs to be told. It needs to be told, number one, truthfully, but number two, with creativity.
Well, you've heard the terms compelling case, those words used in conjunction a lot, and that makes perfect sense. Yeah, you have to tell an effective story.
Right, and one of the things that has been difficult, I was not raised really with the side of my brain that's in touch with arts, and so making me become that person for the purpose of these cases has been a struggle for me. But after meeting PJ, what we do in our cases, Todd, is we will use video and storytelling and acting and to tell a client's story, and that's one of the reasons that I think that's where the two worlds meet.
Absolutely.
And speaking to you about your background, PJ, it's like we ought to maybe sometimes say, okay, here's the case, Todd. How would you portray that case?
That would be neat.
And then that gives us fresh ideas in how to present, new ideas or just case-specific ideas. It's something we've never even discussed, but I think would be a great opportunity.
Hey, we could start doing reenactments.
Yes.
You've made a case why the arts are important in education. That's just one of the cases. It's interesting. When I first got into this job, one of the first things I did was I sent out an email to a lot of folks that I had worked with, kids that I had directed in shows, and of course now they're all PJ's age,
which is young.
Yeah, and have families and so on. But my question to them was, can you send me, don't rewrite the great American novel. Just send me a paragraph about what theater has meant to your life. What have you gleaned from it? How does it benefit you going down the road? And you hear a lot of similar answers, and that's some of these kids have gone on to careers in the arts and in theater. Some from the West Coast, some were in New York, but a lot of them, just they sit in a bank or they're, in a board meeting somewhere. And so they all talk about the things that they've taken forth, the confidence in just talking to people, to being able to work to deadlines, teamwork and team building, improvisation when things don't go the way you expect them to go. And so, it's just a meaningful thing to people's lives, and we do a lot more here than just put on a show to entertain people. And the folks who get the most out of it are probably, I'm not going to say probably, I'm going to say definitely, are the people who participate.
Yeah. I think that there is for a lot of people who who maybe have gone through something and lost confidence, whether it's the loss of a spouse or a long-time relationship or things like that. The feeling a part of a group that is taking on a task and having some part in that task being accomplished. And, I know several people. I have a very good friend of mine who I would have never dreamed would have been involved in theater. He was the starting quarterback on my high school football team, Doug Mitchell. And Doug was, the epitome All-American type guy, a quarterback on the football team, and he went through a very difficult divorce, and it rocked his world. What happened was very bad for him. And Doug got involved in Prattville, Alabama, in the local theater, and has now acted in, I think, like more than 10 shows,
That's great.
And I know that was healing for him. Number one, he got a new circle of people that were totally not involved in his life when he, just totally new. But then just, and I know his leadership characteristics would be good for that. But then to produce these shows and to be a part of it, and I talked to him just briefly about it, and he said, that I don't know how I would have coped with my divorce if it wasn't for the people in our local theater workshop or a theater group, and so.
Well, I hear those stories time and again, and I've literally had people tell me that their theater saved their lives. You think about who can benefit, and certainly children come to mind, Your friend was a high school quarterback, but not every kid can play sports,
right,
or want to, or interested in it. And they need a place to fit in too. And you may know the feeling that you get when you score a touchdown or hit a home run or dunk a basketball. And theater can give you those same kind of feelings, right?
Right.
And it's also about being that part of a team. So yeah, it really builds self-confidence. It's just an invaluable part of development. Saw a young man who was autistic who came in and was one of our productions, and some days he felt like getting up on stage and other days he didn't. He would a lot of times sit just in the house during rehearsals with his mom, and but as time went on, he became more and more engaged. He became more and more communicative. And this was a show that I was actually in with the kids, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And it was so crowded, Travis, in the back room that I just took a lawn chair and sat out in the back alley. And, it was kind of a Zen thing. I could sit out there and be with my thoughts. But the kids found me soon enough. And so, I would be surrounded by a bunch of kids in the show. And they would be out there and playing theater games and horsing around. And I tell you what made my heart soar is the day that I looked over and saw that kid out there in the middle of that group of kids playing theater games. And, just the development to watch in him and the difference that it made for him and just engaging.
Right.
We're going to be involved in a we haven't really announced this yet. We wanted to do it last year. There's a project, it's the Penguin Project, and it's theater for folks with developmental challenges who go through the rehearsal process with peer mentors. And beyond the rehearsal process, once the show is being presented, that peer is on stage with that performer. The peer mentor doesn't have any lines. They're in costume, but they're there to support that actor, whether it's just to be there for them or to feed them every line. They'll help to whatever degree is required. And the Penguin Project, keep an eye peeled for it. We're going to do this, and we're looking at doing it next summer. But, there are a lot of folks who will benefit from this. And another pet project that I have going is a spotlight on seniors, and we're going to start doing readers theater, and this is for folks retirement age and beyond who maybe they have ambulatory issues, maybe they have problems memorizing lines, but by golly, if I've got the script in front of me, I don't have to worry about memorizing my lines, and I could be Tarzan on the radio. I mean, I'm not gonna play that in real life anymore, certainly, but let's get everybody involved and keep them involved. It's just builds, well-being.
You're easy to talk to, so good podcast material, PJ.
He's married, Travis.
I'm sorry. Doesn't mean we can't date. Just joking.
Oh man, this went off the rails fast just by one joke.
If there are people who want to be involved in Theater Workshop from a production or just an assistant, I want to get involved. Not talking about the financial piece at this point. Just help. Who do they reach out to? How do they reach out? How do they do that?
Well, first of all, they could call our office. The number is 270-683-5003. We've been here for a long time. We're going to be here for a long time. We do 5 regular season shows a year. We do other special performances. We'll do a youth season. So there are a lot of opportunities to be involved. We'll talk about all of those on our Facebook page, on our website, which is theatreworkshop.org. So just keep an eye peeled. We send out press releases, so hopefully the news outlets will share what we have to offer. And don't be afraid to step up. And even if you don't want to be in a show, if you see an invitation to audition and you want to be involved but you don't want to be on stage, come to the audition, meet the director, say, hey, I'd like to be involved. Here's my information. Call on me when it's time to build the set or hang the lights or sew the costumes or build the props. We'll put you to work.
Right.
We're also going to do, our middle name is Workshop. And so we're going to get back to doing some of those. And we'll be offering workshops in the coming year for things like makeup and lighting design and sound design, set design, audition tips for actors and all those kind of things. So keep an eye peeled for that.
And I guess those ways of contacting you are also, donation wise for,
you bet.
All that's there, and reach out and make the donation.
Absolutely. We do Play a Part campaign every year, and that's individual donations, but you don't have to wait for that.
Right.
You can make a donation from our website. You can send us a check in the mail. All that still works.
Are there does the Theater Workshop do any special, like a fundraising event each year? Or?
We had planned a Titanic fundraiser where we actually sold tickets at different levels depending on which class you wanted to sit in the ship. And when you came to the door, we were gonna. We got scuttled by COVID, right? But PJ would be in third class, for example.
Oh yeah,
and
I'm one of the first ones to die.
So
at that event.
his meal would consist of this menu, but you're in first class, yours would be this menu.
Oh,
You'd
wow.
sit in a different part of the. And so as you guys enter the event, you get a card, and then you open it up, and you see. You've been assigned a person who was an actual passenger on the Titanic. At the end of the night, you open it up and see what happened to you.
Whether you made it or not.
Well, it's
PJ, I don't like your chances in third class. But
here's what's ironic about what you just said. So there is a Titanic exhibit in Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge. The structure itself is like half the size of the actual Titanic or whatever. But you go through and it's got all these things like you can stick your hand in the water to like see how it's actually like 29-degree water or whatever. So it shows you, how cold it really was for people who were out in there and everything. So I say all that to say this: you get a card at the beginning that's got a name on it, and by the time you get all the way through, when you get to the very end, there's a wall, and the wall has all the names from the different cards, and you go over, and they were all passengers, and you get to go over and see what class your person was in, and if your person survived, and what happened to them if they did.
Yeah.
So that's what that makes me think of. My guy died, of course. That's just my luck.
Well, we intend to do this again, and we did it years ago, like 10 years ago maybe. It was a great fundraiser. what do theaters do? They act, so they put on a show, and that's kind of what this fundraiser was. We'd have people there in period costume.
That's pretty cool.
And we invite the guests to come in period costume as well. So it's a fun evening. We had to pull the rug out from under it when we intended to do it. And then we thought, well, let's do it a year from now. Whoops, that was this past April. So we had to go back to the drawing board again. But we are going to do this again. The Titanic will sail once more.
Society hit an iceberg with COVID, and we had to.
Oh, we'll bounce back. We'll be good.
You have to improvise, right?
Todd, thank you for your time today and making yourself available to us, and thank you for the stories the accounts again ahead of time of some of the incredible events that have occurred in this building. And I'm not going to spoil that, because what I would encourage you to do is to let Todd tell you himself and let PJ tell you. I mean, it's a neat building and with a lot of history, and as Todd said, a lot of emotional events have occurred in this building, and so to have some of the stories that have come out since then, it's really interesting. So,
and what's funny is, and this is a little off topic, but I was talking to Travis before you got here about how the original Hallows Eve was supposed to have taken place in this building. Now, I have the original script, and I'd come across it one day, and I went through, and it's completely different than the one that we actually filmed, because the original script was written tailored for this location, and there's even a flashback sequence where you see the history with the priest and his daughter and all that. So there was a whole period sequence in the movie.
Wow.
And
I don't know if any of that's actually really happened or not, but it's a great urban legend.
That's why you just say based on a true story.
Yeah.
It's like, and but so the what people really want to know is maybe we can go back, and shoot the original script in this building.
Maybe.
I've tried to talk to Eric about that, and he was like, I've seen Hallows Eve, so I don't know.
No. Well, like you said, Todd, I mean, this building has. For 100 years or more was a place where people gathered to worship. It is a place where people gathered to mourn. It was a place where people gathered to celebrate new life and new beginnings. And wow, when a place has that much energy that has been contained within the walls, then some of the accounts of activity in the building since makes total sense.
Well, and the other thing too is, especially
without whether the history of that is true or not, as far as the bell tower hanging.
There are things that have happened. Right. They just might not be the things that show up on this or that website.
Right.
But,
well, what I was going to say is that considering what the building was used for previously, what it's used for now, I would say would add to that energy tenfold, because now that's what plays are. It's a transformative art, right? So it's the going through the human experience. So you're trying to make the audience feel something. So you're going through all the emotions, laughter, pain, sorrow, all that stuff. So you're going to have all that a lot more now. And plus, I've also heard that, with when you're doing, if there is a house that's haunted, anytime some construction or they start renovating the house, it really kicks the activity up. And with you all breaking sets and doing construction in here all the time, I'm sure that's...
Never considered that.
Yeah,
but that
really
makes sense
pissing
too.
the ghosts off.
All right, well, this has been Law Light. Again, with Todd Reynolds as our guest today. Thank you, Todd. And
it's been a pleasure.
Until next time, until the next episode, check us out on all of our platforms of social media. I encourage you to somehow get involved with Theatre Workshop and support it financially or with sweat equity. They certainly could use your help. We appreciate you, and until next time.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice. We need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!